Hi everyone, how you going? I'll just wait a minute and see who comes in, and I'd like to have a bit of a chat. Okay, I think it's needed because anyway, sorry about the messages. Okay. So first up, for new people that are coming onto the page and have not been with us for very long or not sure what's going on, if I come across as stroppy sometimes or a little bit aggressive, I don't mean to, okay? Please understand we've been fighting this fight for 7 years. Every day on the line, we are here, okay? The last few months have been extremely stressful, watching so many people risk everything that could jeopardize all of us because of their beliefs in other parties that they're believing are going to set them free, when in actual fact the focus should be to get rid of the LNP. And people will call us Labor stooges or whatever, but when we started this fight, we were between Labor and Greens. We're non-political, right? I don't belong to a political party, but they were the parties that we had to work with that were against the card. Hang on a second, just a sec. All right. So I'm going to ignore that comment, Jenny Elliott, because I'm not going to get into this at the moment. I'm trying to explain something here. All right. The Greens put up a hell of a fight. We fought with Rachel Seward until she retired. We also fought with the ALP. They changed their views on the cashless debit card in 2017. People on this page did that. Okay. Hello, Brisbane. All right. I did that. My team did that. People behind the scenes, academics did that. But the people on this page, our followers, did that. All right, with a lot of hard work. And we lobbied and lobbied and lobbied and lobbied. And we didn't have a brown paper bag. And we got card holders, right, to lobby and lobby and lobby. All right, voices of the card holders are the most important thing. In our view, the card holders are the most important people that need to be represented, protected, stood up for, all right, because they've lost their rights. They've lost their legal protections under Social Security law. The Protections of Payments Act has been suspended, or they're exempted from it. The law hasn't been repealed, they're just excluded from the protection of that legal protection. Okay? What happens when you start taking legal protections away from citizens? At what point are they no longer a citizen? Okay? Privacy rights. Data is sold to the US, UK, Israel, Spain, Netherlands for profit. Okay? Autonomy. Self-determination. The ability to make your own decisions. It's a bit difficult when somebody's got hold of your purse strings completely. 80% of your income's tied up with a private company and you have to go through a Serco call centre for Services Australia and get permission to do things, and a lot of people have not been able to do the things so easily as the department says. Statutory rights. We don't remove those from convicted criminals sitting in prison. So why are they removed from forced cashless debit card holders? All right, these are big, big issues which I can't seem to get across to people. Human rights breaches. I mean, talking real human rights breaches here. Article 9 of the UNCHR is breached. Right to Social Security, a right to private life, a right to the child, rights to trade, banking, you know, all that sort of stuff. Your financial autonomy is gone. If someone else is controlling your budget, how can you budget? How can you make decisions when someone else is controlling your money? Okay? It's not possible. Now, we've had lots of people right? And, you know, oh, God, here we go again. For 7 years, we have lobbied and lobbied and lobbied. Jenny, right? You've watched me for 7 years. You've watched me bust my butt for 7 years. And Labor voted against the cashless debit card totally in the last bill, 2020. Okay? They voted along the way. There was some hiccups along the way. We know that with the merging of the basics card program from the FRC. They got wedged. They got stuffed around, whatever. But they voted against it. The Greens are always going to vote against it. You won't find LNP, UAP, GAP voting against it. Every vote that goes away from Labor keeps the LNP in. I don't understand why people can't understand that. But there's a lot more on the line here. There's now 6.6 million people on the line here. Not the 15,000 that we know of at the moment. Not the people I work with every day on the phone, right, come into my message box. Not the people that have come into my house broken with their kids because they couldn't pay rent. And they couldn't pay childcare, and they couldn't pay bills. They couldn't pay basics. Right? I do trust them to do the right thing this time. Well, then leave, okay? If you're going to vote for Rudd Culleton and you're going to give your vote to them, please leave. Because I'm taking this personally. My life is on the line. My daughter's life is on the line. Your life is on the line. Everybody's at risk. Right? Now, Rudd Culleton entered, in my opinion, entered Parliament under false pretenses by coming in under One Nation as a senator for One Nation. And then as soon as he was sworn in, quitting One Nation and sitting as an independent. As a voter, I would find that extremely offensive. Right? That I voted for somebody because he was part of One Nation and I was supporting One Nation. Right? And then all of a sudden he ditches One Nation and his voters that voted him in there and goes and sits and does his own thing and then eventually gets thrown out of Senate anyway. He walks the walk. Really? Where? Where has he been at the protests? What has he done? In the last 7 years, what's he done to help a card holder? Jenny, what's he done? I've watched senators from the Greens bust their butts to help card holders. I've cried on the phone with these people, right? I've watched people, I've worked with senators from the ALP that have done their damnedest to help people. Jenny, you're on the wrong page. Go to Rudd Culleton's page, please, and stay there. Because you're not supporting us, you're not supporting the card holders, right? And believe it or not, farmers are not as protected as you like. Because all of these people, you know, that you're supporting, for a start, Rudd Culleton can't even get back in, right? But the others, LNP, UAP and all them, Pauline Hanson, voted not to protect Australians' water, right? Now, today I had to go for an MRI. For the first time in history, right, I had to pay full price, cash, on the table. I hold a Medicare card. I hold a disability support pensioner card. No discount, no Medicare rebate, cash over the counter for the first time in history. Okay? Greg Hunt made it very clear on his opening speech that they want an Americanised insurance healthcare system. I don't want that because that would straight away render me unable to see a doctor, unable to be able to afford medications. It would leave friends of mine that are very close to me, that are diabetics and all sorts, unable to afford insulin. Right? Get off the page, Jenny, right now. Right now. Because I can tell you right now, I'm not having that talk on this page. You're being a troll. So please, you don't support you don't support the card holders, you're not supporting me, and I'm a victim of sexual assault. Right? And at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of people screaming pedophiles and carrying on off the backs of my trauma, right? But they've never given a shit about my trauma, me, or what the impacts of those sort of things happen. All friends of mine, they've never given a damn. And they're down there now going, and all this stuff, right? But they didn't care. And they're quite happy to throw me under the bus and put me on a cashless debit card. And, you know, and I'm not sitting for that. I am not going to stand for that. And how can you support card holders and not support voting it out? Jenny, how can you say you support card holders, but you won't vote for the party that will repeal the legislation and let those people off the card and give them back their freedoms? You can't do both, right? Simple as that. They will. Or, you know, they already put one bill up in November to try and stop it, but because the LNP, right, would not do it. Well, you don't trust them, leave. Stop coming here and ramming stuff in my face, please. I was trying to have a discussion. I don't want to be talking about pedos and Rudd Cullerton and all them. I'm sick to death of hearing it. You know what I mean? They are not. Who's silent? Who's silent? Jenny. Nobody's being silent. Labor put a bill into the Parliament in November to stop the cashless debit card, right? But of course the LNP wouldn't allow it to be debated. Okay? Well, then you've got no one then, because you don't trust any of them. The people. First comment you said that's common sense there. About the LNP. I was reading the comments here. Jenny, leave. Just leave, please. Yeah, well, it's not as easy on the phone. I don't know how to do it on my phone. I can't do it from this level. I can do it afterwards. Yeah. Alright. Put it this way. To new people coming here, right? Look, Jenny, you're prepared to put all of our kids on cashless debit cards, our grandparents, parents, right? You're prepared to risk all of the Medicare, public housing, everything. So I'm not interested anymore, please. One single independent can't do it. You can't take 151 seats and do it. And anybody who thinks they can, right? Sorry. Their lives. I'm not for sale. Get that through your thick skull. And neither are 6.6 million Australians. Right? I'm standing up for the 6.6 million Australians that are going to be sold off for profits here if we don't do something about it. Simple as that. Other people are too wrapped up in other things and can't see. Right? Let's see if I can do something about this. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Let me try and start again, because I'm sick of arguing with people that are going to throw our votes in the toilet and condemn us to another term of LNP and watch us all sold off for profits, right? They don't give a damn about my health, my daughter's health, your health, right? They're just out there deluded thinking that one single person can rule the country and win the whole lot, and I'm sick of it. It's not possible, okay? One man can't do it all, unless you want a dictatorship. That's what I'm saying to those people. They want dictatorships. You know, these people can't do what they're saying or promising, and relying on common law and pseudo law and stuff like that doesn't work. In this climate, we don't have it. I didn't want to have an argument. I didn't want to be stressed. I have very high blood pressure. I went today for an MRI because I had a stroke. I'm emotional because I feel attacked, even on my own page sometimes. And at the moment, I'm getting a lot of people who are showing through that they don't give a damn about anybody else. And it's driving me nuts, okay? And it's driving me nuts because I never thought in a million years this country would turn on its own people the way it has. LNP, One Nation, and UAP, Craig Kelly, he never rebelled once against the LNP policies. He voted for the cashless debit card. He voted not to protect fresh water, right? So these people going on about their, for the farmers, well, I'm sorry, but the Nationals, the LNP and UAP have not, are not protecting farmers, okay? They're not protecting farmers. And thank you for the support that's coming in. Oh, dear. Right. If you don't protect Australia's fresh water because you're busy voting for coal, fracking and burning and digging it all up, when you're not protecting koala habitats, bushland, forest, and I'm not a greenie, I'm 53 years of age and I've woken up to the fact that we can't breathe oxygen without a tree, right? And we need land to grow food and we need fresh water. That is the farmer's most precious commodity. And when about 4 years ago, the farmer's allowance was put on the cashless debit card, but then it was removed. But then Barnaby Joyce says no problem in putting farmers on the cashless debit card. Okay, people need to be aware. We try our hardest here to educate, to give everybody the information, right? That's all we can do. That's all we can do. And we try so hard. And sometimes it gets really frustrating. And sometimes I get moody and I get bitchy, right? I'm a human being. I'm a human being. I don't like the injustice. I don't like the poverty I'm seeing. I don't like the homelessness I'm seeing. And it has to change. We have a two-party preferred system which is bent out of shape because we have a coalition where you have Nationals and Liberals combined together, which to me is dodgy in the first place. And then you've got senators that get voted in off the backs of other parties, even though I don't agree with those parties. And then they dump those parties and go and sit as an independent, right? And in only one case I've seen that be a positive, where the person who did it correctly has the support of his community behind him. And that's Senator Rex Patrick when he broke away from Centre Alliance. You know what I mean? And he's a strange personality to me. He's South Australian independent senator, but he voted against the card. And from what I see on my newsfeed all the time, he's trying to do the right thing by South Australians. He's doing his job. He's out there. You know what I mean? No matter who I think is right or wrong, we are at a crossroads. We have too much to lose. LNP want to stay in, right? Yes, the cost of living is off the charts. It's ridiculous. Inflation is getting ridiculous. The debt that this mob have left us in is ridiculous, right? We have to change. It's time for a Labor government no matter what, right? Greens need to be in there as well. And another party, Australian Progressives. I've spoken to Edward so many times, right? And now she's in my inbox. Please go away, Jenny. I'm going to ignore her, okay? So if it dings a lot, you know what it's about. So Australian Progressives, he managed to get on to Q&A and get a question where we couldn't, right? And he's not backed down on his policy, right? Manifold, he's got no card, you know what I mean? And he's not backing from that. Now, Labor, they took it to their caucus in November 2020 and they voted to stop the card. Okay? She's not going to stop, is she? Hang on a minute. I might better do something. I don't know where she's coming in at, actually. But, yeah, so she's coming in off another page. She's not coming in off the national. I'll find her and I'll sort it out. I'm not going to answer the dings. I'm not sure where she is at. She's actually in my inbox, in my personal inbox. All right. Look, I've asked her to stop. So, the Greens are the only one who fought this card as Rachel until she retired. No, that's not really true. They did fight. Rachel fought forced income management for 16 years. And we fought really hard with the Greens, right, until Rachel retired. But we also fought with Labor, you know. I was sending card holders to both. We could pick up the phone to both lots of senators, right? We were talking to Rachel Seaward's office. We were talking to Linda Burney's office. We were talking to both lots, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, yeah, Rachel was fantastic, right? At the end of the day, in regions where the card are very fixed. Yeah, hang on, Brisbane, I'll get there in a sec. Very fixed LNP nationals seats, right? Where there's very few, Greens voters to, you know, you're not going to kick Keith Pitt off, you're not going to kick Keith Pitt off his perch with 3,500 Greens votes. And I'm not being mean, but that's just the way it is. So a ALP primary vote is what's needed to get him off his seat so that somebody can get in. Hinkler has been listed the most disadvantaged region outside Aboriginal communities with the highest rate of youth suicide, right? And poverty and homelessness for the whole country since the card came in, right? And that's not fair. And I had a go at Keith Pitt in public. How could he do this to his own community? Because he doesn't care about the families that he's put on the card. 7,000, nearly 7,000, about 6,900 and something. And, you know, it's just crazy. Andrew Wilkie from the electorate of Clark in Tasmania also voted against the card, yes. All right. Well, Greg Peake, if you're not going to vote federal Labor, what are you here for? You can't say you support cashless debit card holders and you want to stop the card, but you won't vote for the party that will stop the card. That doesn't compute. You'll vote for parties that will continue the card, which is stupid. And when we're talking about Victorian Labor, right, and your bill down there, it's bloody fantastic, mate, because in that bill, it has huge oversights in it. It has protections for every resident of Victoria, and you have a Bill of Rights in Victoria. Okay, the same bill is sitting in New South Wales Parliament, has no oversights, no protections for the New South Wales residents, and whoever the Premier is or the Health Minister is at the time is the only person who has control. But no one's bleeding about New South Wales. Everybody's attacked Dan Andrews, right? The China Free Trade Agreement was signed by the LNP. Clive Palmer loves it because he leased out one of his mines to a Chinese corporation. They've paid him $1 billion. And just recently in 2020, he decided they wanted to expand on more of his mining land, and they needed to do their tailings, and they paid him another $750 million to get the extra land. Yet Clive Palmer disses the Chinese, but he needs the LNP in power to maintain that China Free Trade Agreement, which enabled him to lease his mines to the Chinese. Do you understand? Anyway, whatever. All right. Thanks, Glennie. I must admit, I'd never had an MRI before, and it was rather scary. rather freaky. Very different thing for me. I've had a CT scan a couple of weeks ago, and then I had this, and yeah, I really don't want to repeat the performance. All right, you know. Yeah, it's like, this is crazy. I'm trying to say to new people here, I don't bite. And here I am, I get into fights with people, and I don't want to get, right? She's still in my inbox, but I'll sort that out in a minute. All right? Look, put it this way. I don't know how, for the people that doubt Labor, look, they're not perfect. You're not going to get the perfect political party that's going to do everything you want them to do, right? But at the moment, you really, to the people who are really like thinking about throwing their votes away, do you really want more of LNP? Really? We need to keep Medicare. We need it reinstated back to the way it was, so that things like MRIs for people like me and everybody else are free, right? We need to push. Labor needs to be in, and then we can push for more, because the Greens will be pushing for more. All right, when Gough Whitlam introduced healthcare originally, it came with dental. Then Fraser scrapped it. All right, then when Bob Hawke brought it back in, it was missing its dental and optical. Right, so it still needs work, but we need to protect it. We need to protect it for us that are getting older that need access, and we need to protect it for our children. There's too many places in this country where people are having to fork out $40, $50 and $70 just to see a doctor, because there's no bulk billing doctors, right? Because, you know, the LNP have cut the doctors to the bone because they want the privatised system, right? You know, there's too much at stake. We have too many homeless people. We have a housing market that is off the rails, unlike in Germany and Europe where there's rental caps, right? You know, when you look at the Northern Hemisphere where in order to stop the far right from coming in and doing what they're doing here, right? And they don't have Murdoch in a lot of the Eastern Bloc, right, for a start. And Angela Jager, of course I'm going to be voting Labor. Labor are going to stop the cashless debit card. Why would I not vote for them? I've spent 7 years of my life lobbying to get the card stopped. Right? The Greens will stop it. They will support stopping it. Right? Australian Progressives, if they can get a seat. Right? Laugh all you want. They've already put the bills in. They've done the hard work. Right? Whatever. If you're not here to support cashless debit cards holders, right, and you're not going to support the parties that are going to stop the card, then you risk having an LNP government, right? And I'm sorry. Then 6.6 million people are at risk. Right? Angela, I think you lost, okay? Don't come at me. I'm making this apparently clear. My life is on the line here. My daughter's life is on the line here, right? You know what I mean? If you need Medicare or you want more public housing, right, LNP are not going to do it for you. They've already started cutting Medicare to pieces, right? Simple as that. You know, Mediscare. Well, it wasn't a bloody scare, was it? How many people here right now have gone through what I've gone through? Where you can't go and just get an MRI anymore. And I was lucky. This one wasn't $800 or any stupid money. But I've got friends of mine who are being expected to pay that kind of money, right? And they can't afford it. So they're going without. You know, Pauline Hanson's idea of welfare reform, and she got her friend Mark Latham to push him again just a few weeks ago, is no social security for under 25s. Right? And for those over 25, only 6 months of social security like they have in America. Go and Google Orange County, California. or any of the major cities and punch in and look on YouTube for homeless. Boarded up buildings, street after street after street after street. 10 after 10 after 10 after 10 of freezing cold, starving people. Working people, some as low as $2.50 an hour in their hospitality industry, or working for tips, or working 2 or 3 or 4 jobs, right? And they still can't afford housing. All right? Is that what you guys want out there that are supporting the other parties? Because that's what you're going to get. We have got so many, right? I'm not a candidate. I don't know why people think I'm a candidate. I'm not a candidate for any party. I'm a 53-year-old person on a disability support pension that started a page to stop the cashless debit card. You're on the card. Then why would you want to vote for parties to keep it? I don't understand it, Angela. I'm seeing comments as it comes through my page. I would have thought a card holder would be itching to get off the card and get their freedom back. Right? I don't understand it. I'm sitting up here screaming, I'm doing all sorts. Right? Albanese will. This is it. Federal ALP will. And they've made it very clear. I don't know what you mean by you've defended me, right? One independent can't take government. Who's Jason? I'm trying to read comments. Oh, hang on a minute. I'll Google Jason Miles for Queensland. Oh, he's an independent. Well, I'm not going to be voting for independents. I'm voting for Labor because I want to stop the card. I want people off the card. I want your rights reinstated. The rights that you lost. That's why I'm voting for Labor. Right? That's the thing. Right? It's the only way I can do this is to vote for the party that has now stood up and said yes. Well, Jason can't get rid of the card. Unless he's preferencing Labor, or you're going to preference Labor number 2. Will you stop? Whoever's saying Labor calling... So many people don't understand that federal Labor are not state Labor. So Angela Jager thinks that one independent can win whole government. Please. Please. So you're willing to risk everything. Medicare, staying on a cashless debit card, if you're on a disability support pension or age pension for the rest of your life. Right? Not being able to afford to go to see a doctor or get basic medicines. Watch diabetics, right, go from not being able to, to being able to access free dialysis and be able to access the insulin to $1,300 a month for insulin and having to try and scrabble up money to go to dialysis. Because that's what the American healthcare system does. I've been listening to a lot of people in America to find out more about this American healthcare system. All right? Where the doctor wants to give you a script, but he has to ring the insurance company and put the approvals through there first. All right? And then it's up to what level of insurance you can afford to have, whether they turn around and say, oh, no, you can't have that medicine. Your doctor will have to prescribe something else or come up with a new plan to get it. We don't want that. I like my doctor being able to say, all right, I think you need this, go and get this. There's your referral for your MRI, go and get this. Greg Peak, you will get the cashless debit card if you're going on a pension or an unemployment benefit if you keep LNP in. And if you vote for UAP, you will keep LNP, right? So, and sometimes I feel like I'm bashing my head against a brick wall because, you know, oh, we support you, but we're going to vote for somebody else. We've been here for 7 years, but we don't want to get off the card. That's what I'm hearing at the moment. We're happy to stay on the card. We're just going to, yeah, we're not going to vote for the people that are going to take us off it. You know? I don't get it. Anyway, I'm not hiding anything about how I'm voting. I got yelled at by somebody, oh, don't tell me how to vote. Well, don't tell me I'm not worthy of being alive in this society, right? Stop ramming it down. These are people that come at me and go, well, I'm going to vote for UAP. Good. So you're voting for coal, mines, no water, everything. You know what I mean? You're not going to vote for healthcare. You're not going to vote for, you know, public housing, public education, stopping the cashless debit card. I mean, I don't know why people don't understand, right? The cashless debit card removes you out of being... When you remove somebody's legal rights under law, every citizen in this country is protected under law, supposedly, right? The rule of law and non-discrimination is supposed to apply to all of us, whether we're rich or poor, right? Whether we're homeless or whether we've got a mansion, whether we walk, ride a bike, right? Drive a Mercedes or drive a beat-up old Commodore or have a yacht or a rowboat or swim. It doesn't make any difference. No matter what colour we are, where we've come from, if we're a citizen, we're supposed to be protected under Australian laws. Now, cashless debit card holders at this time are not protected under Australian laws. They're at the mercy of a private corporation that is making money off of them. They've been exempted from the protections of those laws. So what makes their citizen status? What status is their citizenship? Somebody please tell me. Because they're sort of in limbo land. They're Australian, but they don't have the rights of Australians. Yet they haven't committed any crimes. And yet prisoners sitting in prison that have had their day in court and have been judged by their peers, right, and have committed crimes, still maintain their rights, still maintain their statutory rights, their privacy rights, and their human rights. So please tell me why Social Security recipients, aged pensioners, albeit they're not many, and they're Aboriginal at the moment, and there's 9 volunteers and 25 forced Aboriginal aged pensioners, of which 5 of them are over the age of 75, but they're Aboriginal, so according to the department, that's okay. They're up at Cape York, and the government's saying that's nothing to do with us, but, you know... Right? People that are in their 60s, people that are kids coming out of school, right? Straight onto the cashless debit card the minute they apply for youth allowance in a card region. Parents trying to raise kids in this climate is ridiculous. Okay? So why are all these people stripped of all their rights? Why can't they go to a welfare rights organisation or a lawyer and get assistance? Why have they been exempted from the Protections of Payments Act? Why are they contracted to Indu without their consent? Why must, you know... Oh, look. It's scary watching this country go down the toilet. Thanks, Marge. Right? And it's scary having people that come up and show me that they're quite happy to throw me under the bus and my daughter and all of the people here that support me and all of the families. And It's scary. You know? Yeah, I know, we need to do something because UAP is bragging that they're 90 years old. A little quick history lesson. Thanks to Juice Media. I'd heard of UAP before. They were a party back in the 1930s. 1931, 1932. And they went through to 1945. Robert Menzies was a Prime Minister under UAP until it became the Liberal Party. Okay? UAP became the Liberal Party. Now Clive Palmer re-registered UAP in 2013, and now he has a press release that I saw tonight claiming we're 90 years old. Hang on a minute. But the previous UAP party became the Liberal Party. Has anybody, the penny dropping yet? Right? Of course Palmer wants LNP to stay in. He's got his mining interests with his Chinese mates to look after. He's not interested in you and me and if we can afford food or we can put a roof over our heads or if we're being controlled by the cashless debit card. And another thing too that came up, which which is on the page, let's have a quick chat about the post that's just gone up, right, in regards to Minderoo's part in the cashless debit card. You know, Twiggy Forest Charity, Minderoo, and the Working Technology Group. Okay? You know, we received a heap of FOI documents detailing the 2017-18 activities on the secretive CDC Technology Working Group, which was initially called the Minderoo Working Group. Right? When you look at it, and Amanda's done a really good job of breaking it down, because I had a look at the documents last night, and it was tough reading for me. My eyes got tired. All right? But some of the things that they wanted to do was to hand people's payments out in increments of $20 to $50 a day. Because apparently, because people can't make their payments last the full 14 days, they need to be micromanaged. This is what Minderoo wanted to do to people on the cashless debit card. So you couldn't go and do $100 worth of shopping on your card. You have a limit of $50 or $20, a daily limit. You wouldn't be able to pay some bills at all doing it that way, you know. And like one of my people said, who rents $68 a day, she'd be stuffed, right? Because some people can't pay rent using the Indu card. They have to go through their cash portions and their 20% and all that sort of stuff because Indu won't allow them to have a rental allowance. All right? I suggest the people have a read of the FOI Minderoo post and have a good read of it because they also had plans, or probably still have plans, to put non-Centrelink recipients on the cashless debit card as well. Right? And if they get back into power, they're going to get all bold again like they did and say, we got a mandate. Look, people voted for the card. Because that's the first thing that Keith Pitt did when they got re-elected in 2019, thanks to Clive Palmer and Pauline Hanson sliding the votes away from Labor, right? The result was Keith Pitt got back in, and then he goes, look, we got a mandate to roll out the card. Will we have a credit score? Well, at the moment, everybody has a credit rating, right? But people on the cashless debit card, it's stuffed. And if you're looking at finance for anything, if you're on a cashless debit card, you are classified as under financial hardship. So therefore, you're excluded from the normal lending banking criteria through your banks, because your only legal fiscal income that the bank can see is your 20%. So you're a pauper. And when Indu don't pay bills correctly, your credit rating's stuffed. And that's the way it is. So every cardholder out there has had their credit rating stuffed up, right, at one stage. Most of them have had their rentals stuffed up. A lot of them are still behind on rentals from the initial setup and the delays getting rent paid. They wouldn't let people catch up the rent. And a lot of people I know have been made homeless or had to move. And now, with a housing crisis as big as we've got, and it being on an Indu card is now another barrier to getting housing, because owners are sick of not being paid on time by Indu. They're sick of the delays. They're sick of the defaults, right? Simple as that. They're sick of it all, right? So people on the Indu cashless debit card get turned away from housing. Even though land agents aren't allowed to say it's because you're on the card, they use the old adage of the rent is more than 30% of your basic income, so therefore you don't qualify for that housing. It's because we're busy gentrification of everything and everyone. But it's getting ridiculous in the rural and regional areas, even where I am, that you're outpricing working people, right, that they can't, like, you want them to work in town, but they can't afford to live in town, right? In Sydney, 65% of homeless people in Sydney have full-time jobs, okay? Right? Isn't that unbelievable? You know, they have full-time jobs and they can't afford to rent. They can't afford rent in Sydney. You know what I mean? It's ludicrous. A house that really, when you look at it critically under inflation, should be around about $30,000 to $60,000 is going for $1.2, $1.5 million. Our youth will never be able to buy at these rates at all. And we're not the only country doing this. UK, US and Australia. Europe doesn't fall down these pitfalls. They cap their inflation. They give private rentals 10-year leases and they've got rent caps on them so that the people aren't priced out, right? And their public housing is for life, right? And if you want to go and Google the Vienna public housing system, right, go and have a look at how they do it in Vienna. It's absolutely brilliant, their public housing system, right? Why can't we have those things here? Because we have neoliberalism, capitalism, corporatism, and we have people from LNP. I was always brought up with the guys in the blue suits always look after their mates first, and they don't look after it. You know what I mean? Robin says there's a tent city in Bundaberg. Yeah, you know. Yeah, I get called a lefty, and it's like, I was brought up to be honest, tell the truth, don't steal, right? Don't deceive people, right? Oh, God, you won't stop. So now this Jenny claims her daughter's on the card, whatever. All right, I'm blocking you. This is... She's harassing me. It's getting ridiculous. You know? Look, if you're on this page to stop the card, then as far as I'm concerned, and you need to be able to vote for the parties that stop it. She wants her daughter to stay on the card. I can't help her. Simple as that. All right? You know, I've been here 7 years. I've done a hell of a lot of research. And she's telling me, do your research. Yeah, like reading the legislation back to front, upside down and sideways. And knowing what's been taken away from people. You know, this is just crazy. This is just crazy. Oh, look, I'm just going to block this woman because I've had a gutful that she's so down the rabbit hole. It's funny. I don't, hang on. Block. Gone. Phew. Finally. Who got blocked? Jenny Elliott. Because she wasn't satisfied with trolling me here. She came into my personal inbox. Right, and she also went into another one of our pages' inboxes, which I couldn't get to from here at the moment. So I've now blocked her, and I'll find her on the other one and I'll block her there as well. All right. Okay, so somebody asked, help me understand. Okay, Loretta Julianne Foster. We are No Cashless Debit Card Australia. Our purpose on this page is to stop the cashless debit card. It is only logical we are going to vote for the parties that are going to stop the card. We're not going to vote against our best interest and throw votes away to independents and people who will make sure that they rob votes from Labor and the Greens to keep the LNP in. That is not protecting our best interests. We want to stop the card. So therefore we'll be voting Labor, and a lot of our members here will be voting Greens, and some of us might be voting Labor, Greens and Australian Progressives, right? But the main thing is, right, irrespective of whichever party you prefer, we're at a crossroads right now where we're at a situation where we're losing our Medicare, our public housing, right? We've got too many people, right, that are homeless, right? We've got too many services being cut from Medicare, too many people at risk of being put on the cashless debit card and losing their human rights, their legal protections under law, and being set outside the protections as a citizen should have in this country, and effectively being sold to private companies. And I'm sick of being treated like cattle and fodder to be made off. The poverty industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, okay? And I'm sick of people who sit up there, stakeholders in jobs that are supposed to help people in poverty on $120,000 a year for 6-month contracts. And they poke at a person like me on a disability support pension, right? And they have the rights to control me? No, I'm over this. There's too many people making money off our backs, right? All right. People go, oh, you're spooking Labor. Yes, because what else can I do? The purpose of this page and the purpose of my fight has been to stop the card. So I've always stood with the parties that have stopped the card or tried to stop the card, who voted against the card, right? We've seen things transition with regards to Labor, and you have to understand the inner workings of a political party, which I didn't know anything about until I started this. Right, Amanda has taught me a hell of a lot. Sitting between the two parties and watching them nitpick and fight is like frustrating as all hell, but understanding the machinations of both parties and the way they work, the history, right? And I wanted to do a video about this last week, but things got out of shape. I wanted to do a video on the history of the basics card, who supported what, how it got where it was, right? what the intention was at the very beginning, and what it mutated into thanks to the Howard government and the NT intervention, and the stuff up along the way, right? You know, and there's if you scroll down the national page here, you will find an article regarding the Mendes report, and that has it in it. And I was going to do a live on that one night, because I think a lot of people need to understand. When I came into this fight, Jenny Macklin was the Social Services Minister for Labor. I'm not going to say what I think of that woman. She was horrid, right? She was absolutely horrid. And she fully supported forced income management. And I can remember ringing their officers and being told, but you're on welfare. And I was like, hang on, am I ringing the Liberal Party here? You know what I mean? I had lots of arguments. When Jenny Macklin left, her right-wing views left with her. And that's happened a lot with the Labor Party over the last 8 years. A lot of the right-wing conservative views have got up and left. Right, now you have Linda Burney, who fully understands Basics card. She looks at income management, forced income management from the perspective of Aboriginal people, which she would naturally because she's Aboriginal, right? And we've been able to not only, we've been able to talk with her staffers and throw them so much more information. And I met her in Bundaberg with Jodie, and she invited myself and Jodie, and we got 5 of us in February 2020, and we went to Canberra to have a meeting with Linda Burney. Whole different ballgame. Whole different ballgame. Now, around about November 2020, Labor's caucus voted unanimously to scrap the card. Right? You can't ask more of a party than that. When you look at over the time period that they've been going, and they did support the trials in the beginning, but it's funny, I knew something was up when you'd ring up when this was at the beginning, 2015, 2016, and I couldn't understand why they were supporting it. And why did I have all this information that they didn't? And when I rang their staffers, they didn't know what I was talking about. But then, when we were able to get people this, we got hold of these and we gave them to Rachel Seaward staff, we gave them to Labor, I even gave one to Jackie Lambie. They hadn't seen them. The Liberal Party had not given them any of this information. So I had the fortune to be invited to a meeting in Bundaberg where Bill Shorten was in 2017. We didn't have the actual booklet from Seduna, but we got it offline and we photocopied it all up and we put it in a binder. We went through it all. We highlighted everything, right? And I took it to Bill Shorten that night, and there's a photograph in our photos where you can see me giving it to him, right? We spent 30 minutes with his policy advisor going through it all, and it's like, oh my God. And then Labor pulled partisan support. They stopped supporting the card. They got wedged in 2019 in regards to the FRC Cape York program on funding, and that screwed everybody up. We were not happy, but they're not going to do that again. And then we saw Bridget Archer stand up in the House of Reps, she's a Liberal, right, against the card and give out this really good speech, but then she actually fell for the same bullshit that Labor had fallen for. Oh, but if we pull people off the card, they won't have a payment to go back to. And it's like, rubbish. You take people off the card, their money goes back into their normal bank account, and their payments resume going back to their normal bank account. Liberal Party tried to snow job Bridget Archer with the same bullshit that they snow jobbed Labor back in 2018-19. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's gone on, and I've tried to keep people in the loop all the way along. There's a lot of new people coming to this page that I've not met before, that I've not seen names before coming into my lives. There's a lot more trolls coming in to the pages that don't make sense to me. I've had death threats and I've been called names and all sorts, right? Sorry. You know, now I'm getting all flustered. I'm going to have to stop soon because my stress levels are too high at the moment and I need to calm down, right? And it's not about being passionate. I'm frustrated. And I'm trying to educate people on stuff. And it's just so much. And like that woman on here earlier, and then in inbox, and then in my personal inbox. You know, I don't understand it. Why would you risk it? If your own child is already on the card, surely you'd want them off the card. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So, puffer, good idea. Hang on. Give me a breather. Hang on a second. I don't use a puffer very often, but I do have one. Oh dear. Oh, I try my best. Everything I put out is factual. It's fact-checked. Everything that Amanda does and posts and writes and everything. She does all of her due diligence, right, to make sure it's right. We dig up whatever we can for you guys so that you're informed. Hang on. So, thank you, Leanne. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? I've worked with Rachel Seaward for so long, and I remember last time it was like the only way to vote to get rid of the card is to vote Labor, but I felt personally like obliged to. But that feels like I'm kicking Rachel in the teeth. Do you know what I mean? The conundrum of the personal against the logical, what's for the better, for the greater good, right? And this is what we have to think of now. This isn't about us personally, individually. This is for the greater good, right? You need to look at what your neighbour needs. I've got a 74-year-old neighbour beside me. She needs access to hospital anytime. We are fortunate in Queensland that if you're on a pension card, right, you can ring an ambulance and you don't have to pay. Unlike when I lived in South Australia, you have to have ambulance cover and pay that yearly. And if you don't have it, you get a big ambulance bill, right? You know, this is the things that we have to look out for. Which party's going to protect us in those sort of things? And it won't be LNP, right? And as much as the others are spruiking all this bullshit, they're not going to look after us. Now, when we look at Victoria, right? Victoria state government, people need to understand what Dan's done down there. He's put in like $5.8 billion into public housing and he's moving really fast. He's trying. He supported people through the pandemic when the government didn't. When the federal government wouldn't cough up money, he did for families that couldn't work because of their isolation. He did it, you know what I mean? But another thing I look at, he supports programs like Breakfast Club and free lunches in schools. Some people in this country think that's radical. I come from a country where that's normal, right? We didn't have Breakfast Club because we all had porridge and stuff. It was freezing. I lived in the UK. But we went to school and we had hot lunch. And that was included in our schooling. It was normal. It wasn't something special, or it wasn't a case of, oh, well, it's only for welfare people. It was for the whole school. There was 2 sittings, 12 o'clock and 12:30. And it was a 3-course. There was a little entree, there was a main, and there was a little dessert. You know what I mean? And that was included. That was a normal given thing in the Northern Hemisphere, and it still is today. No, even though the Tories have been trying to get rid of it for a long time in the UK, right? But they still do it all over Europe, right? Dan does it in Victoria, you know? And he put money in to try and support people while they were in lockdown when the federal government wouldn't cough up. You know what I mean? And that bill that they all went mental on, they put all the safeguards in for their residents, you know, for the people of Victoria, whereas New South Wales didn't. I don't know. It's complicated, but what people have to understand is when it comes to the federal election, Anna Palaszczuk and Dan Andrews are irrelevant. I live in Queensland, and yet I get people coming at me about Dan Andrews. Why? He's not our premier. right? He's not our Premier. He's down there. What are you coming at me about Dan Andrews for? And Chinese and all this when it's Clive Palmer, the LNP of the Chinese issue. Right? So somebody tried to say that the cashless debit card is a credit card and it's a leftist conspiracy. Besides, it was a Labor MP who instigated the rollout of the cashless debit card. No, actually, the deciding vote, right, in 2016 that started the cashless debit card was Nick Xenophon's party, which is now Centre Alliance. Oh, funny about that, eh? And Jackie Lambie, who was Palmer United Party at the time. They were the votes that pushed this card into existence in 2016. Right? So, yeah. Now that Jackie Lambie Network is on her own and she's away from Palmer United Party or UAP and she's on her own, she voted against the card in 2020 at the last bill. Okay? And I don't know why somebody thought that was funny, but anyway, somebody put up a whole heap of laughing emojis. But, yeah, Jackie changed her vote and she made it very clear she will not support the cashless debit card again because what she was led to believe, of course, hasn't come to fruition. And, yeah, she doesn't like that. You know what I mean? So in 2017, was it? Or whatever, 2018, along comes Pauline Hanson anyway, 16. Pauline Hanson comes in to the Senate and she supports it. You know what I mean? And she supported it all the way along and she won't stop supporting it. But she doesn't get it right either. She doesn't believe that people on disability support pension are on it. And the cashless debit card is definitely not a credit card. But in the very beginning, it worked like a credit card because people had to press credit to use it in Ceduna and Kununurra. It didn't have the BSB number it has now. It didn't work like it does now. And a lot of people had a lot of problems. Do you know what I mean? A lot of problems with it. 840,000 declines of the card just in the first 2 years. Or, you know, when they had 13,000 people on it, you know what I mean? 840,000 declines for things like rent, food, basics, not banned items, legit items. It just failed. That means that all those times somebody was left standing in a supermarket with a shopping trolley full of food and they had to walk out and leave it. Or some kid couldn't have shoes. Or somebody couldn't pay their rent. Right? You know, kids have been excluded from, I don't know, so many events. And it's heartbreaking. But I've had parents in my house that are broken, right, who didn't know what to do. They didn't know who to turn to. They were crying. They were a mess. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a counsellor. I can only be a friend to people. Right? You know... yeah, I'm not going to go into Pauline's personal life. She's got her own issues with that. But, yeah, Pauline won't be told. She seems to think that everybody over the age of 36 that's on the card volunteered for it. And I can tell you now, they bloody well did not volunteer for it. All right? They just did not. They didn't get a choice. It was a mandated, compulsory rollout, right? And it rolls out by postcode. It doesn't matter what payment you're on, unless you're in the Hinkler region, which is the only region that has an age cap of 36 and is limited to job seeker, parenting payments, and youth allowance. Everything else is up to 67 years of age, every payment. Sorry, I was reading the credit card thing and I was thinking 55 days interest free because that's what credit cards do. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there's just been so much misinformation and it would be so nice if the media would print more of the human rights issues, the legal protections, but they won't. Well, we've tried. I mean, we've had some good articles, but they still hold back the vital information that the public need to know. And I'll keep banging on until whenever, because people need to know. And the way we work is one by one and all together, right? So, you know, people that are here that have learned and listened to me and gone and read up the articles, gone to SN7, and our webpage now is really good. You know, you can go to www.thesayno7.com, and that's all one word, and everything's there. The reports, the media, the legislation, the bills, the videos from all the senators and their speeches, everything. You know, everything you need to know is on there. So that if you know people that are not on Facebook, right, especially older people and stuff like that don't have access to Facebook, but they have access to the internet, they can go and look it up, and they can read the reports, and they can read the evaluations, and they can read the cardholder stories. Okay, everything is there. Whereas here we can post daily, but things move down the pages. And yeah, I didn't expect to be on this long, because sometimes it's hard for people to watch a long video, but I've calmed down a bit now. The people that don't understand stress me out, and it's very, very frustrating for all of our team when we see people that will vote to spite their face. Do you know what I mean? And it's frustrating, because we don't want to see people shoot themselves and their families in the feet, right? Because they don't trust, all right? But this is one time in history where we have to say, no, we want to look at what we want to keep. We want to get rid of the cashless debit card. We need to be able to pressure them to change the job agencies issues or get rid of them, raise the rate. Those things can be done after the election. You can lobby and push, right? Because then you'll have Greens and other parties. But if you've got too many of UAP and One Nation in the Senate, you're not going to get anything positive through, right? I can't change facts, Tim. That's it. Facts are facts. That's the way it is, right? You know, we can't risk having an absolute hostile Senate where nothing can get through because the right wing doesn't want to let anything through. So we need Greens, we need Australian Progressive, we need Labor in numbers, we need Labor in the House of Reps. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, One Nation, UAP, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Dita. Can I name Labor senators we should vote for, as in candidates? Well, ones that I know of. I'm still learning them, but like for my region, for the Wide Bay, is Jeff Williams. They haven't announced for Hinkler yet. As soon as they do, we'll let you know. But Wide Bay candidate for ALP is Jeff Williams, and he's for Wide Bay, goes from just above Noosa all the way up here to Maryborough, right? So that's the Wide Bay electorate. I know that one because I've been talking to Jeff. Do you know what I mean? And I went to the Tin Can Bay markets and had a stall next to him, talking to people about the cashless debit card. Because where I can and when I can, I get out in public, in my shirt, in my hat, you know, and try and talk to people about the card. And where I can, possibly go to the markets and have a stall. And then I set up with information, you know. For New South Wales, depending on where you are, I mean, there's some good ones there already. Justine Elliott is leading the Pensioner Protection Task Force, right? Protecting Pensioners Task Force. Anyway, Justine Elliott from Tweed, she's absolutely brilliant. And then you've got Fiona Phillips, I know her down there. She's really good. She helped one of our card holders down there. I'm not sure where Julian Hill is, but Julian Hill, he's good, right? There's the candidate for groom for Toowoomba, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Oh dear, please, Loretta. Common sense says that you can't just, you're throwing out a different thing that I don't deal with anyway, because I deal with the card. But as a woman, this is to do with pro-life and anti-abortion stuff, right? If I was in need and there was something really, really wrong at the end of my pregnancy that was making the child's life unviable and threatens to kill me, then medically, right, that is the last resort for a full-term abortion. You can't just walk in and go, oh, I'm 8 months pregnant, I want to get rid of it now. It doesn't work that way, okay? But women have the right to not be criminalised or lay on the table and die because of an ectopic pregnancy or something massively wrong. Doctors needed to be protected too. So they passed full-term abortion, but it's only for extreme cases. I believe there needs to be 2 doctors involved as well. It's not a freedom of choice thing to just get rid of the kid at 7, 8, 9 months. It doesn't work that way, okay? That's my understanding of the law there. But anyway, let's get back to cashless debit card. Stop trying to throw me off, because I am not one for taking away women's choices in reproductive health, right? I don't want to see policies that I'm seeing in Texas, okay? And Pauline Hanson would love to have those sort of policies here where it's criminalised, where no matter what, somebody has to give birth against their will or something like that if they're young, if they're being assaulted, right? I don't agree with any of that sort of stuff. I've become a feminist. I believe in women's have the control over their reproductive rights. Okay, because there's millions of women that live in poverty because they have to have children all the time. So Julian Hill is a member for Bruce, and he's in the House of Reps, which is the lower house. That's correct, right? So he's in Dandenong in Victoria. I remember because he goes to the Dandenong markets and he puts it up on his page when he's out at the Dandenong markets. So I remember seeing him when he does that sort of thing. Hang on, somebody sent me. Oh, it's all right. That's all right. Nothing major. Nothing major. So, to people who are new here, because I do see a lot of new names here, right? We've done it all the way along, one by one and all together. You know what I mean? And we've got there. And we did something amazing between the people on this page, my team, the academics that were standing behind us as well, right? People like Amanda and all that sort of stuff, the Say No 7 group, all of us, you guys out there who got on the phones. I mean, it must be tiring that over the last 6 years we've told you to pick up the phones. How many times? Ring the senators. But it paid off. Labor went to their caucus and took a vote. We did something that other people don't do. We got a federal party to change their voting way and to change their vision on a policy without any dollars being exchanged. We did it without brown paper bags. We did it with people. And Labor listened. And Labor listened to Aboriginal people too. Okay? In regards to the basics card and the cashless debit card. And they've gone out to communities and they've listened. And that's how they're going to formulate their policies, by listening to people. Unlike Scott Morrison and his crowd, who don't listen to anybody, are too busy doing photo ops and covering up all their sleaze in Parliament House. The Labor, if somebody stuffs up in the Labor Party, boot, you're out. If it's criminal, the police are onto them. They don't muck around. Labor kicks the person out if they've done something wrong, and they get the police onto them. Liberals keep them in their ranks and protect them and smother them and make up bullshit, right? Fiona Phillips is in the House of Reps as well, yep. Justine Elliott is also in the House of Reps. So, but the senators at the moment, I don't know. I mean, most of the senators, all of them have stood up against the card. You can see on either our website or you can find it on our pages here, their videos, and you can listen to their speeches from all over the country, including Tasmania and stuff like that. Yeah, all of it's here. You just go digging, or go onto the SN7 page and go digging, or just go to the website, www.thesayno7.com. All right. Am I okay? I'm feeling really hot and flushed, but yeah, that's me. And it's also rather humid and warm up here at the moment, so I'm just reading comments and stuff. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to call it a night, and I'll see how I feel tomorrow night, and we might do the Mendes report then. Okay, and hopefully we won't get too many interruptions, because I get frustrated and I take it personally, and I've got to learn not to. You know what I mean? I've survived a lot of troll attacks in the last 7 years, but these are very different because we have run a marathon. We have climbed bloody Mount Everest, and we're at the, we're at the launch summit. We're nearly there, guys, right? We've worked so hard over the last 7 years, and we've got to the summit, and now all we need to do is get to the peak, and we get rid of this bloody card and start treating Australians with dignity and the respect that they deserve, right? Give people back hope. Because at the moment, this country, everybody is feeling depressed and stressed, whether you're working or not, right? The cost of living, whether you're an ordinary average worker or you're on a benefit, none of us are surviving well at the moment. And that has to change. And you've got to remember, ALP have only been in power 3 times in the last 90 years. The rest of the time it's been UAP in the 30s and 40s. Then they become the Liberal Party, right? And every time that Labor's done something good, the Liberal parties have cancelled them, right? Every community service that's put up there by Labor, I noticed this when I was a teenager. Labor would open community groups, housing, homeless shelters and all that sort of stuff. And in rolls Liberals, and they shut them all down. No. We can't keep playing that game. I want to know where the money's gone from all the cuts. See, they go on about, we need to cut that service to save that money. So they cut all the housing services and they cut the education services. Go back to 2014 when Tony Abbott announced that Australia was for sale, and they just cut $300 million here, and they cut the Aboriginal health services, and they cut legal services, and they cut Anglicare's funding so bad that Anglicare almost did not have 2 food banks in Sydney, and they closed down over 100 homeless shelters, right? And all Labor senators will unequivocally vote against the card. You've got no problem with that, all right? And they've done so much damage, but where's all that money gone? And we're $1 trillion in debt, right? Where's all the money gone? Oh, car park rorts. Swimming pools for rural places. But hang on, the swimming pool ended up in Sydney. Wasted money. Right? Money thrown at mates. Money thrown away. All right? Let's protect the Great Barrier Reef. Oh, yeah, we'll just throw $400 million at it. But then in legislation, you go and read. Did they go and actually put it in law? No. They voted against it. You know? People need to go to that site, theyvoteforyou.org.au, and punch in the politicians' names that you're doubtful. Punch in Pauline Hanson, Malcolm Turnbull. Punch in Clive Palmer, and it will come up as Palmer United Party, okay? Because that was the last time he used to sleep on the front benches. He used to sleep in Parliament, or he was absent. And you'll see what he actually voted for. Everything else, any social policies, he didn't have a bar in. He left all that to Jackie in the Senate, which was most unfair because, you know, and she copped the whole bloody lot. All right? I'm glad she did change her vote. I'm so glad she did, because this time round, you know, it was really good for her to do that. You know, it's just, go and look it up. Go and research these people. Go and research what Craig Kelly has voted for. And it shows you if they've ever rebelled against the party vote. I don't know, Dita. I don't know. But, yeah, theyvoteforyou.org.au. Go and have a look and go through, and it will say, you know, what they voted for and what they strongly voted for and what they voted against. And you just go and look it up, click on it, and it will show you what they voted. You know what I mean? Fresh water, koala habitat, bushland, trees, forests, marine parks. Right? Yeah, I agree, Lambros. I absolutely agree. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's all you can do. All right? And that's all you can do. And that's what I say to anybody who's not sure where they stand. Go and look at how they vote for you. And then look at how the votes have changed. Now, this week, I posted from the parliamentary site who voted for the cashless debit card. Right? In clear living colour. Because I got sick of One Nation going, but we didn't vote to put the pensioners on the card. But by voting the card through, you did. Right? Because it still went on it in the first place. You know? It still went on it. If you were serious about stopping age pensioners from going on the card, you would have demanded that the legislation was taken out of the bill. Right? Or you wouldn't have let it go through, knowing that age pensioners were going to end up on it. So, no. They knew. And they kept going on about misinformation. So I just corrected it for them. There's the third reading vote that passed it through, and it clearly shows Malcolm Roberts and Pauline Hanson voted with their ayes to pass it through. And Sterling Griff, Centre Alliance, formerly the Xenophon's Party, remember, back then at the beginning, Centre Alliance, Sterling Griff abstained from the vote and left the building, leaving everybody in the lurch when Centre Alliance had promised they would not vote for the card without the independent evaluation, which they didn't have. So, yeah. Anyway, people, I need to have a spell, and it's pretty late. It's after midnight now, so I'll get off. I don't know how long I've been on for. Too long, but big long one. But anyway, and it's good talking to you guys. And yeah, just learn and read and learn and read, and then tell people. That's all you can do, one by one and all together. All right, and we'll just keep moving forward. Oh, I just wish we could hurry up and get this election out the way, and fingers crossed we can get ALP over the line. They can have Green support in the Senate and whatever, and hopefully, you know, my friend from Australian Progressives gets his nose in there as well, and that'd make a hell of a big difference, because then you've got parties that are voting against poverty. Okay? And this is what we need. We need people who vote against poverty, who want to bring people out of poverty, and will stand up for workers so that workers aren't working for peanuts. You know what I mean? And that people can have good paid jobs and get somewhere. Tiffany Camry, I like your comment. Yeah, no comment there. Oh dear. I'm pretty sure I don't need to look up Michael McCormack. Yeah, you know, hypocrites, a lot of them. A lot of the ones that have voted this through are so hypocritical. Yeah, and but you know, I think when you get grandparents come up to you that have voted for Nationals and Liberals all their lives, and they come up to you and they go, my son's moved off the card into Hervey Bay, or my grandsons have moved in, and they've been put on the card, but they've never done anything wrong. They're shocked. It's like, well, what did you expect? You voted for a party that was going to bring them to your area. If you were planning for your grandkids to come and live with you when they're 19 years of age to get jobs, of course they're going to go on the card. Oh, but we didn't think our kids would be affected. You know, and that's it. Yeah, need an open mic now. It's pretty hard to do here. Pretty hard to do. But anyway, take care, everybody. I'm going to calm down. It's got really hot here at the moment, so that doesn't help. But our weather changes, like, you know, it's warm, it's humid, it's up and down. So, all right. Night, people. See ya.